Why in the heck do I have to make this video? What's up everyone, I'm Guy, and today I'm not happy about the video that I have to make. I don't want to spend my time calling out bad behavior and bad practices. I'd rather be talking about comic book stories and characters, artists, creators, and all the rest of it. But today, I guess I'm talking about comic book dealers and sellers and their horribly poor packing and shipping practices, and hopefully how to fix those bad shipping practices. Now, before we jump into the video, don't forget that every month here, I do a giveaway. And this month, the giveaway is for this comic book. It's Amazing Spider-Man number 328, the iconic Spidey cover with the Incredible Hulk getting the old uppercut as portrayed by my probably favorite artist of all time, Todd McFarlane. Now, in order to be eligible for this giveaway, it's pretty simple. First and foremost, be subscribed to this channel. And again, at the end of the month, I'll pick one of you guys to win this book. The second thing is to have notifications turned on. Click that little bell icon, because what I will do is a giveaway announcement video at the end of the month, and you need to see that video in order to actually claim the prize if you win. So don't forget to have notifications turned on. Click on every video and find out if you get this book, and stay tuned for more really cool giveaways in the coming months. Allow me to introduce you to this, the Gemini mailer. And yeah, I know you're all familiar with this little cardboard device that nearly everyone who sells comics uses for their packing and their shipping. But here's the rub. Tons of people who have shipped me comics over the last, I want to say 50 or so online orders that I've placed in the last few months have used this Gemini mailer device incorrectly. And it has led to order after order after order being delivered to me damaged. What a really high number of sellers do when they ship these comics is this. They take the comics, and they're bagged and boarded, of course, and they slap them inside this mailer all loosey-goosey-like, and then they tape the mailer shut, stick a shipping label on the outside, and they toss the mailer in the mail. Now, I guess I'll be fair, and I will say that the majority of the time, the comics do survive unscathed when they're sent to me this way. But I'm easily seeing somewhere in the ballpark of 20 to 25% of my orders, at least in my experience, they're getting damaged. Well, okay, so why is that? Well, it's because the books inside are smaller than the internal cavity of this mailer, meaning that the books can rattle around in there as they're going through the US postal system. And if the books can move even a little bit, even if they're bagged and boarded, they can impact the interior walls of this mailer, and the corners can get bent and dinged up super easy. A surefire way to know if you've packed your books wrong is just shake the mailer, and if you hear it rattling, you did it wrong. Yeah, that's not good. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, and for the love of God, do not put this frickin' books in the mail. Now, Gemini actually sells another product to help prevent this very issue. It's called the Flash Mailer Filler Pad, and it's a 1/8 inch, 200-pound test corrugated cardboard sheet that is precision cut to fit in the interior cavity of these mailers. Now, if sellers would stop being cheap a-holes and they would spend that extra 36 cents on the filler boards, and if they would secure the books to the board with tape, the books would no longer rattle around inside the mailer, and they would be incredibly less likely to get damaged. But no, many sellers I've purchased from in the recent past go ahead and they cheap out and they reuse Gemini mailers, which is probably not a great idea to reuse them. They're already dinged up and the structural integrity is compromised, but they'll reuse them without the filler boards and without even bundling the books together, such that they're all loose and unsecured inside the mailer. Now that means that the comics can and often do get dinged up and bent corners when they're rattling around in there. Now, usually, sellers will take care of the problem, they'll issue refunds, or they will replace the books. So while it is an annoying hassle to have to deal with it, it's not a monetary loss. I did recently have one obnoxious dealer accuse me of damaging the books and lying about it and placing my integrity into question. and them taking no accountability for their poor packing and their abysmal customer service. So yeah, F those guys, they lost a customer for life, that's for sure. And I did consider calling out that dealer directly, and I actually did a version of this video doing just that, but after thinking about it and after showing it to a few people, I decided I wouldn't do that because I don't want to be accused of being spiteful and vindictive, even though I was the one that was wronged in that situation. But I guess the moral of the story is it's best to stay positive and to try to be helpful. So let's talk about how packing comics incorrectly can lead to both disappointed customers and damaged books. I want to do a little test with this guy, for science and whatnot. I want to see what happens when I put 7 comic books in the Gemini mailer without securing those books into a nice tight bundle and without securing them down to a filler board or to the mailer itself, and letting them rattle around loosely, just like that. Well, I can tell you there's a very good chance that nothing good is going to happen, but let's go ahead and see. For my test, what I'm going to do is 3 kind of moderate to maybe even significant types of impacts. First, I'm going to throw the mailer on the ground with moderate to medium force. Second, I'm going to throw the mailer at my front door like delivery drivers do every single freaking day. And then finally, I will vigorously shake the mailer for a while as my third and final torture test. Then let's open up the mailer and see what the outcome is. And no, these are not comics that are already damaged in any way. I'm not doing anything underhanded to try to skew the results of this test. I'm just seeing what sort of protection the Gemini mailer offers to some comic books that were in very fine, maybe as good as near mint condition, after this package has sustained some pretty good hits. First, the ground. Second, the door. Third, shake the baby. Well, yeah, so after those tests, we can see that the sides of this mailer are pretty dinged up, as a matter of fact. This side more so than this side, but both of them took hits directly. But to be fair, this is about what all of the packages that I get from USPS look like when they arrive to me. So this is really pretty much in line with the type of impacts that I would see these packages take as it travels to its destination. I don't think that this is out of the ordinary at all. All right, well, let's get inside of this package and see how these books look. Now, as we can see, the bottom left corner on these books, they are totally screwed up. These books are absolutely and completely ruined. They would get sent back to the vendor immediately for, poor packing. There's nothing redeemable about this at all. Now, the top left corners, on the other hand, they took a smaller ding, and it probably wouldn't be a total loss if this was the only damage that the books took. But if you paid for near mint condition comics and they came like that, well, you're no longer getting near mint comics is the bottom line, and that's a big problem. So here's the thing. Anything worth protecting is worth protecting correctly, and that means that it should be protected in a box. It should be secured between heavy-duty cardboard. It should be wrapped in bubble wrap such that there's several inches of space between the comics and the box walls, and the comics cannot be allowed to move around at all. This really isn't that complicated. It's not rocket science. I don't understand why so many of these sellers don't bother trying just a little bit harder. But I really wish that sellers would stop being lazy, and I wish that they would treat their customers' orders with much more care and consideration. And that's all I got to say about that. Now, I went and I did a little survey over on the Comic Book Collectors Facebook group, and I asked what sort of experience people over there have had in regards to getting books sent to them in Gemini mailers, specifically without any other protection, with the books just loose inside the mailer. And I got some really good responses from the folks over there. Like this one here from Bill. He says, when I use them, I bubble wrap the bagged and boarded books, and I blue tape them down before sealing. I never ship them loose. And that sounds a heck of a lot better than what has happened to my orders. Jim says Gemini sends cardboard inserts to use with single comics to keep them packed tightly, and I don't know if that's actually totally true. I don't think. I think you need to buy them separately, but they are cheap. They cost like 35 cents a piece, and I really wish that sellers would always use them. Now, Ian says, who TF ships loose? That's a thing? And yeah, I see it maybe, I don't know, close to half the time, maybe even more now. I haven't been keeping track, but I constantly get comics sent to me just like this, loose in the mailer. And yeah, it's a lot of orders. It happens really often. Don't tell my wife how many orders, though, please. Now, Harry mentions that blue taping the books inside the Gemini mailer is equally important to the overall package. Yeah, I 100% agree. But sadly, nearly half the people that I have bought from do not bother taping the books down and securing them in place. Michael says everyone I've ever gotten was taped in place. And I have to say that's amazing. And I wonder what the sample size is, because that's certainly not been the case for me, not every single time, not even barely half the time. Anyway, there was a ton of other good comments on that post over there in the Facebook group. I don't want to rehash them all. However, suffice to say that it seems like people mostly did comment that they expect their books to be secured inside the Gemini, and most people seem to say that generally when they buy comics, they do come that way to them, which makes me wonder, how am I so unlucky that I'm constantly getting books not secured in the mailer, and they're rattling around in there and getting bashed on the corners, getting dinged up, and basically getting ruined? Now, what is the correct way to do it? Well, in my opinion, a box is best. Put the comics taped together and securely taped to oversized sheets of cardboard, wrap that in bubble wrap, and put that in a box in such a way that that little bundle cannot move. If you got to add extra padding to the box, be it packing paper, peanuts, bubble wrap, whatever, make sure that that bundle is not near or touching the walls of the box's interior and that it cannot move. If that's not possible, I want to say, for the love of God, whatever you do, don't put the comics in an envelope. That is effing stupid. Even if the comics are sandwiched between cardboard, please just don't do it. Now, if you insist on using Gemini mailers, yeah, I'm going to say at a bare minimum, make sure you secure the books together. I like to put all of the books in an oversized magazine bag and tape that up nice and tight so the books can't move. Make sure it's all taped together, and then tape that down inside the mailer so that that can't move. You want no rattling around, none, not even an eighth of an inch of movement at all. Secure the books between filler boards that are sized appropriately is best, of course, so do that as well. Well, yeah, there you go, guys. That is my rant on all the garbage packing and shipping that I've been seeing over the last few months since I've gotten back into collecting comic books. It feels like the Wild West where nobody knows what the heck they're doing. It's crazy that people are just too dumb to do this correctly, but it is what it is, and I just needed to get this rant off my chest. Now, with all of that said, I guess what I'm going to do here is say thanks for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and give me the thumbs up, the like, the subscribe. Make sure you keep collecting, keep watching my videos, and I will say that until the next one, bye now.